Am I on?
You're on.
Is it still, the light still red though? Is it on or? Hello? Norman, how you doing? Good. Oh, yeah? Yes, I'm today, yeah. I'm in the top, yeah, just go and come, okay? Okay, I'll make over here. I'll see you right now.
Okay, you're on, Norman.
Okay, I'm back. Everybody doing okay from the holiday? How many people is here? Is Jamie there? How we look? Okay, I'm sitting down today, so I'm gonna more relax today. And Jeff, everything okay? Okay. I have announced I went at my retreat, so I kind of do some brainstorming about some of previous podcasts, and I just realized that our first podcast, which started in March, the second week of March when California had the first shutdown, and so it was really quiet. And I thought, oh, Jeff, my good friend Jeff Young, always said we should do a podcast. We could do a podcast. So I thought, okay, that is a perfect time to start it. So the very first one is, I think the very first few podcasts actually never got recorded, and especially the first one was just simple. I had my trainee customer Brian Joy Huang just use my iPhone 6 and do a live at that time. So, and I believe we only have about maybe 50 people. I did announce it, and so then I think we should revisit some of the previous podcasts, especially now we have more members, and I can refine some of the previous podcasts, and because we also have some of the audio issue before, and many of you are with us at the very beginning. You will understand that because now we're getting better and better every day, and Jeff is now, I call him my production manager. He's controlling all the audio over there, and so here we are today. And I hope everybody have a great vacation. I still have a nice retreat. I needed that. And so many of us have asked me about how do I start my nursery. And so I give you the link to the area time 1988. But I graduated in 1986 or 88. So that gives you some history of how I started. And many of you might know from the previous podcast that I actually started as a chemistry major as a freshman at Cal State Long Beach. So Long Beach, and I came to this country in 1978. And when I was 16 years old, and I always grew orchid in my life as a kid in Taiwan. And in those days, I know many of you are not even born yet in 78, but in 77 or 78 when I first come to United States, a plant like this, this is leaf span. They used to sell orchid, like especially Phalaenopsis by the leaf span. A 10-inch leaf span like this will be $25 in 1978. And not even chrome, not even tissue culture, it's just typical white hybrid. And Joanne Brown, my girlfriend, they will usually measure from tip to the crown and up. They don't usually like this. So, so those are very expensive in those days. So I pick up orchid as a hobby when I was in high school, and because of the orchid hobby, 6 months when I arrived in the United States, I went to pick up a job as a cashier at the FECO department store. That is the first membership department store. It's a federal employee in Southern California, and that later on become a model for Price Club, and then Price Club got bought over by now the Costco, and so that's how we started it. And it's 70s to 80 was a very exciting time because uh, it's the perfect timing because the orchid business started from the East Coast of United States. That's because of World War II, because of coal shortage. Coal is a war material, so uh, a lot of rich and famous and the private collection cannot afford to use the coal to heat their orchid, so they will send a good portion of their collection to the East Coast, New Jersey, all the way along a lot of area, and that's how the American orchid industry got started. And then around then we got moved to the West Coast about in the 60s and 70s. So I, looking back when I was reflecting my career last week, and I think that really happened at the right place at the right time. And in 1980, when I first went to Cal State Long Beach, I was a chemistry major, and I like chemistry, but it's just not see myself to be working in the lab that long because it was a wonderful program, but as a freshman, we had to spend about 20 hours in the lab. It's a good pre-dental school, and then my family moved to West Covina, and West Covina is about 30 minutes from here, and so I transferred to Cal Poly Pomona. It's a part of the Cal State system, university system, that only two Cal Poly Pomona, and that is more on applied research, applied, application. So, and then one day I was walking on the campus, and I went into this area, and I saw from a distance, I saw greenhouses, and I said, "Wow, they have greenhouses just like store Orchid at San Gabriel." So I walk in there, and darn it, they do have a like 2018 greenhouses, have a wonderful student run nursery, bedding plan, everything all grown by the student. And I thought this is great, so I just changed my major right away. And if you read the article from every time, my father thought, it's just a phase. I said, because they, in those days, if you are their cousin or their, this is not professional, and they had no idea what I'm getting to. And at the time, I had no idea what I'm getting to, but all I know is I will have an orchid nursery in one day. So, and I started it, and I said, so my father said, no, if you're going to study this, and I'm not going to support you. You can stay at home. It was Covina, and you got to stay. You got to support yourself. I'm not going to pay for your tuition. So he thought maybe I would just give in, but it's just like great. Luckily, the tuition was cheaper at the time. At Cal Poly, 1980, I think the tuition for one quarter is $275. And I think my minimum wage at that time is like $3.95 or $4.25. So it's not bad. It's a lot more affordable. Plus, I make a career of getting applied for scholarship, and it was a nice time of the year. Cal Poly Pomona, the School of Agriculture, is the first founding school of Cal Poly Pomona, and it is also the only land grant school at Cal State system, and we have 850 acres on campus, and that was the land grant by the Kellogg cereal family from Kansas. That was their summer home. So part of the deal for land grant is the Cal Poly Pomona got to always have once a month have a free Arabian horse show open to the public, because that is the family's Arabian. They do a lot of horses there. So if you ever come to Southern California, the school is only 15 minutes from my nursery, and they do have if you like horses, they do have a free Arabian horse show once a month. So check it out. There's another thing to do in Southern California, And so we have, I think the School of Agriculture had the biggest land of any campus. We have the hog farm. We have an area for have the lamb. We have the searchers area. We have even the Department of Horticulture, ornamental horticulture, we call at the time. That means that they don't teach us anything that's eatable. So they have another department to teach vegetable or fruit tree and so on. So, and another very special about Cal Poly Pomona that is very unique in United States is they have the Cal Foundation because the department is emphasized on learn by doing. You know, you have to go. How are you gonna get out of the ornamental horticulture if you want? My emphasis is floriculture and also wholesale nursery management, retail nursery management, and floriculture. You got to grow crop. Floriculture is a lot of cut flower. You know how to time it, and so you got to able to do some growing. Otherwise, how are you going to get a job at the cut flower growing range if you just get all your knowledge from the book? And everybody can read the book, but can you grow a crop? Can you grow actually a carnation from cutting all the way to harvest for production, for cut flower production in 4 months? And so they have what we call the Cal Poly Enterprise enterprise project, and I have mentioned this before, but the really unique is the enterprise project is once it kind of teach you how to be you write a proposal. Let's say if I want to go African violet, okay, then 100 plant, you have to submit how much money you're gonna buy the cutting, calculate how much space, how much soil, the pot, and at the end of the 3 months, you know, if you what percentage of that you're going to do retail, because we do have a cross sale like on campus. So for Valentine's Day, Easter, Mother's Day, or how much money you're going to do wholesale. So it's kind of a good exercise. And then you submit to faculty at the time was Tom Yoshikawa, and he also owns a retail nursery, and he's a great man. I learned so much from him. And then once the project is approved, okay, if the student fail because any reason the crop failure, the foundation will absorb the loss. But the student got to learn by doing, whether it's positive or negative. Okay, so by the time I was a sophomore, I believe, and I also do working part time, you know, in between classes at the Cal Poly nursery, and it's great because you know between the classes, you know, the Cal Poly nursery is the best real estate at the time on campus. It's in the center of the quad, so you walk at a campus, you can park there. So I can just, you know, as late as sometime, I can go there and park at the nursery and walk to different classes versus some of the students had to walk like far, far away. So that's really a nice perk to be there. It was a wonderful, wonderful period at the time. And so I actually applied for the very first project I did is I told Tom Ishikawa I want to do orchid. I want to do phalaenopsis. Okay, this is I was 20 years old. Okay, I was 20 years old, 1980. Okay, the store orchid without flower, just a leaf alone, like white. It retail for $25. So I told Tom, I think I can do it with flower in bloom and retail them for $25 and still make money. And he said, he looked at it, Tom looked at it, what's that? Because at that time there's no terminology called Phalaenopsis as a potted plant. He said, "Are you going to cut flower?" He said, "No, I'm not interested in cut flower because cut flower is boring because it's all white. That's all they use. It's white for Brunner." And he's not familiar with orchid at all. Nobody. This is it's a wild, wild west, brand new territory. So I said, then I said, well, submit the paperwork. Let me take a look at it. So I submit the paperwork. I figure out I can buy some seeding, okay, at that time from Taiwan, and air freight it, pot them up, and I know probably I can finish them in 6 months. I submitted paperwork, and next day Tom called me into his office. He said, Norman, on paper it's wonderful. If it's show profit, it's a wonderful project. But here's a but. The budget for the entire student project is only $800 a year at that time. Because $800 a year, because most of the students do it by seed. You start seed corn, maybe you start seed, or you buy some African variety cut-in. They are very inexpensive. The space, the potting media, the school have all the space, the greenhouse space for you, but it's the most costly is the seed or cutting. Say if I approve a project, none of your classmates can do an enterprise project. And I said, that's right. I cannot be that selfish. But I'm really, really disappointed because I had did all my research. I even lined up for my clinician where to get the orchid seeding. And so my father happened to be visiting from Taiwan at the time. And she said, oh, I told my dad, hey, I got a problem. He was like, oh, great. You got a problem? You got to change major? So I said, no, I have this project. Take a look at it. And what do you think? He said, well, just look good on paper, And I go Phalaenopsis all my life. I have a rooftop garden when I was 13, 14 years old. I go Phalaenopsis all, at that time, most of it in Taiwan is a jungle collected plant. There's not a lot of artificial propagation and and a lot of time at that time, propagation, which is the center of the orchid business. If you control the propagation, you control half of the business already. A lot of the information nobody want to share. Even at the store orchid, the joke was they have a formulation on the tissue culture media, and they would lock it up in the safe. But he said, well, if you're really serious, son, he said, I can help you. I said, really? You can help me? He said, yeah, do a counter offer. And I said, what's that? Here I am. I'm 20 years old. I'm just I just want to learn. And I said, what's kind of offer? He said, well, this is what you're going to do. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so next day I make an appointment with Tom Yoshikawa. I said, Tom, I'm gonna give you a counter offer. He looked at me. He said, interesting. Sit down. Love it. And he said, what? How about this? If I can get a sponsor to buy all the orchid, which is the bulk of the money, and the school give me the space for that 100 plant, and then buy the bark, buy the pot. And my boss, Don DiNeno, who also in the podcast group, he's a great boss, and he's very supportive. He said, I can allocate the best greenhouse space for you. This greenhouse number 6, perfect for it. It's all Dutch style glass, and great. So if I can find a sponsor, and I said, my dad, he's going to sponsor me the orchid, and prepay the orchid, prepay the air shipping, and then if I make money, okay, the foundation, if you make money, 33.7% go back to the foundation to sponsor the future enterprise project for any other student. Of course, if a student fail, they will have some money to fall back. So it's a wonderful, wonderful project. They also did that before with some of the people who raise lamb or lamb, goat, and that's why Cal Poly Pomona is just great program. In right now, the past president of American Orchid Society, George Hatfield, is Cal Poly Pomona graduated. Even though I think he's a fruit science, and then we have our own Brandon, who's now the orchid curator at the Huntington Botanic Garden. Also is graduate from Cal Poly Pomona. And so if you ever have a
George Hatfield.
George Hatfield, yeah, George, I mentioned him already. George Hatfield. If anybody interested in horticulture program or ag program, I would recommend to Cal Poly Pomona. If you want to really hand-on, applied version of it. So that's why I started. So Tom said, "Boy, your father is a good businessman. He offered me. He got the school had nothing to lose. If I fail the crop, which at the time, 50-50, Cal Poly's foundation had no lose because all they lost is the space, maybe some bark and pot. Big deal. That's part of education. That's what school is there for. And if I make money, then there's 33% of that big chunk of $25 can be go back to enhance and to support more student project. So that's how I got my first project. And guess what? And out of that 100 plant, I believe we got shipping, and nobody know how to ship orchid bare-rooted at the time. This is 1980. So I credit myself and my father's help. I'm the first person to import Phalaenopsis from Taiwan, and then to use as a model. And from that project and several other projects later, this is why at the early time I think I can the Phalaenopsis can be just like poinsettia for a particular holiday, but it will be better than poinsettia because after Christmas you cannot sell poinsettia, but a white Phalaenopsis after Christmas for Japanese is the Japanese New Year. People get out of Christmas, move all the poinsettia is out. You can put orchid still there. So my next project, so that project, I think I make over $1,200. Every single plant was retail at the quad sale, and I think at the time was for Christmas. It was a great hit. Minimum retail price at the quad is like $25. So not only at quad, we also have a retail nursery on campus. That's where the faculty, the students shop, and so right away I know this is going to be a great project. So I submit another. I said, Tom, can I submit the next project? He said, yeah. How many do you want? So when the second project is about maybe 500 plant right away, and then so in the 1980, 82 to by the time I graduated, I done maybe not just orchid. I do Gerber daisy, or African violet, Easter lily. Never do Easter lily, too much stress. Hydrangeas, and a lot of different crop, and I cannot recall. By the time I graduated, I think I did over 32 enterprise project, and it's still the record today at Cal Poly Pomona. And none of my projects have failed. Every one of them all made money, okay, for school. So that money, the seed money, to help to support a lot of my other students. So I'm very proud of that. And I think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the School of Agriculture gave me the Alumni of the Year. And I think I was the youngest. I was not even 50 years old. I think I was 45 at the time. It was so I was on record to be the youngest alumni for school at 45 47 or 48. Anyway, so this is how I started it, and all along the way. So by the time I graduated, 6 months before I graduated, uh, and because of that, and because of orchid, then I really needed to master the plant tissue culture, the cloning. So I went to UC Riverside and studied with Dr. Miyashiki, and who at that time he's very known for the Miyashiki and school salt. And I will tell you more about this version of it later on when I do artificial talk on tissue culture. And I got a scholarship because of that, and I went to Hawaii, and I do tissue culture and derium. That's my second love other than orchid. And that paper won the best paper of the year of the country. And this is very big news that triggered to the interview from LA Times, because Cal Poly is not known to be like UC Davis, but the paper actually won over UC Davis and Cornell, and because that, then my father, all this nice happening, I was offered a job 6 months before I graduated, and in the East Coast, they want this. I think I can say it now. It's AMP Orchid in Massachusetts, and Dr. Mustafa was really intrigued, but he want me to. But the only thing is, I did. He said, "Oh, great! You can come. I have a nursery. I have a. You can do me. You can do the lab. You can do the retail. You can do the wholesale. Norman, you're the perfect package. I want you." And I said, "But I still have 6 months to go." And he said, "Oh no, you don't need a degree. Just drop everything. Come to me." I said, "Oh, that's not going to sit well with me." So I went, and again, to my respect, I told my father. He said, "No, really? Somebody want to offer you a job 6 months before you do?" And I told him the figure, and then the ticket come back. I said, Dr. Mustafa was really nice. Want to give me a ticket to come back to California to visit the family. He said, that did not sit him well, because I'm the oldest son of the family. And then, he just really deep down inside, he said, if I leave, I might not come back. I might be stuck I might be all in Massachusetts. He said, well, I'm going to give you a counter offer. So here you go, another counter offer for my father. He said, I'm going to counter offer Dr. Mustafa. He said, okay, we talk. He said, I'm going to if my father and my mom is a good businessman. They started on business. Between two of them, they have over 65 years of business experience. They started a business from scratch. He said, I'm going to help you, and I'm going to invest in you, because if you're not going to make money for other people. If you're going to make money, you're going to make money for me and for yourself, and stay in California. And so we're the family. And I said, okay, he said, I'm going to loan you $40 million. This is 1986 by the time I graduated. And I was 25 years old. And I was really, really touched, because here my father initially is not really supported my choice of career, to willing to trust me and loan me $40 million at 25, with unknown. You can use the money, and then if you lose the money, consider that's the money you're ever going to get from me. Or you can, if you lose money, if you make money, you can pay back to me, whatever. There's no time limit. Just do your best. So here we go. So I use that. So I picked this property here, which is only the 15 minutes from Cal Poly Pomona. And this area, 60, 70 years ago, used to be a farming area. Just like Orange County by Disneyland used to be all orange. Okay, this area, because it's about 1 hour west of Los Angeles Airport, is more inland. We are about 10 minutes, 15 minutes east of the Ontario Airport. So if you want to go to Palm Springs, you had to pass by here. So winter is hotter, Well, summer is hotter. This past summer we have 108 degree. We have 2 weeks of over 100 degree, and our winter can go down to 29 here. So it's not really ideal area to start orchid nursery, because if you think about some of the orchid nursery in the history of development, either East Coast or West Coast, always by the water. Malibu, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria. I'm actually the first person that have the nerve or the gut to do it in the inlet. But that's all I can afford. Who can afford the land in Santa Barbara or Malibu? So I use the money to buy maybe 3 acres here, and that's how I build it. But learn by doing. But I got to apply what I learned from school, from my mentor, Tatu Fujimoto. Everybody who helped me, Don Dinero, working with Don Dinero at Cal Poly Pomona at the nursery, give me a lot of experience, not just on orchid, but also handle with other plant. And working at the nursery, and also working at Tom Yoshikawa's retail nursery Saturday and Sunday. So I got to learn how to handle and work with customer to be a problem solver for their landscaping problem or any plant. And it was a blessing. It's easy. I think the company only has just me and my mom. We don't have any employee. It's just a one green. How we started it. And Eric's still a landscape architect at the time at Cal Poly Pomona. And when I started a business, Jamie's still in high school. Okay, and then she went to UC Riverside. So by the 3rd year or 4th year, when Eric and Jamie all graduated, Eric graduated from Cal Poly Pomona with a degree in landscape architect. He said, "Okay, this business is kind of interesting. I want to give it a try." So he joined the company, and then later on, Jamie graduated from UC Riverside, which is about 30 minutes from here. She had a degree in business. So when Jamie graduated, I took Jamie to a trip to Europe. Okay, we went to Netherlands, Dutch, see the Dutch flower market, and we went to South France to visit Marcel Lacour, who started the French spotted Phalaenopsis breeding. We also go to England, and that's where we also visit Mabine, that where Michael Tips, my good friend for a long time. Michael Tip was there, so I took Jamie to visit all these 3 places, and then Jamie decided we had this opportunity that a space at the Los Angeles Flower Markets opened up. So I asked Jamie, said, "Do you want to do it?" Jamie said, "Oh yeah, let's give it a try." So Jamie started the wholesale division, and again, this is like 1996-ish, early 90. So Jamie ran that wholesale orchid place with the first one at the Los Angeles Flower Market to do wholesale. We do orchid available to interior designer and florist, and at that time. And because our orchid been grown in inland valley with smoggy, the orchid actually lasts longer, much longer than versus the Phalaenopsis. That's for example, from Carpinteria, because they all used to the perfect air, By the time that the orchid come into Los Angeles, remember back in the late 80, the air is still very, very bad. So the flower usually wilted. So being in the West location here made me a better grower. And in fact, now I know, because in the very beginning when I started business, there was a bet in the industry that they never heard of the orchid nursery can be in the desert. This is desert in the Inland Valley, and there was a bet that I'm going to fail in 3 years. At that time, I did not know any of this, but I have made a career of proving people wrong, and I cannot please everybody, but I just had to do my best, like my father say, and just keep moving. when you are good at something, there always some people want to target you and then pull you down. But I just use it. This might be true for a message for some of the younger grower. Just use it I use it as a motivation. Use that. You can turn into negative energy into the positive. I'm gonna prove you guys wrong because you say I cannot do it. No, I can do it. But what they did not understand is, I have 6 years. I have 6 years of preparation for this business. It took me 6 years to graduate from Cal Poly Pomona. Usually just 4-year program, but because I know what I'm going to do, and so I tailor my study for all the major requirement courses. I tailor all my courses with a goal that one day I'm going to own an orchid nursery. So just set a goal, and once the shortest point between 2 points is a straight line. So I set that goal, and I'm going to go reach that goal to the shortest. I don't want to go anywhere. And then just always ask advice for people much smarter than me. And I'm never afraid to ask advice, because that's why we study history, not to repeat the same old mistake we had before. And this is why I am doing the podcast today. And from March to here today, it's not because I think somebody, Joe, say I needed my business really slow. I need it. No, because if you think about how much time I put into it, that today I cannot go to my Joshing Center's Zoom meeting because I need to prepare this. But it's a time for me to give back, because there's so many people in my career that there's a lot of people say close the door on me, but more people open the door for me. Selflessness. So it's my duty to give back and to share the best knowledge that I can, because I could have become a professor, a PhD, because I was offered. In addition to the job, I also offer a full scholarship to go to Denver and also Cornell, because my tissue culture paper. But I asked my Dr. Mishiki, I said, what about this? This. I said, well, you know what? If you go to Denver, you're probably going to go to elimination of tissue virus of carnation, and if you go to Texas, if they want you to do alfalfa, you do alfalfa. I said, thank God, it just made a career decision for me. So I take that offer from my father. So, but now there's always deep inside myself, I want to share. I like to teach, because I could have, there's the offer from Cal Poly before to go back to maybe a teacher course, but I was just not ready. I don't have time at the time 10 years ago. So, but thank goodness, Jeff has always encouraged me to do podcasts. The timing is right. The year 2000 could be the really bad year. The door closed on us. We shut down in California. The nursery is shut down for 2-3 months. Nobody can come in. I was bored to tears. So it's always, we can always turn the worst situation to a positive. And really lucky for me, I have all these wonderful friends, Jamie and family, Jamie and Eric, to support Jeff and Brian, and also some of you have able to from San Diego or able to stop by. They are here, be part of my audience. And I have myself learned to speak in front of the camera without an audience. I can recall my very first one. I was really uncomfortable to speaking in front of the camera, because Brian just have an iPhone and shooting with me. And I'm almost very good speaker in front of the Orchid Society, because I feel on the energy from the audience, but I never to speak in front of the iPhone, and I had no idea what people are thinking, or if they are, but it's a good journey, and I thank you everybody to allow me to have this experience. And Not only that, the podcast now have grown because all your constructive suggestion. Now we have the tip of the week. Tip of the week for the podcast. We're gonna do because your request. We also have this show and tell. That way I can show you what's in season, what's good, and then I can kind of be my good friend said, Norman, you sounds like Korean, Korean. What's the lady at Home Shopping Network?
QVC.
Whatever. Okay. Anyway, so but this is like the whole podcast evolved. We started with only 30 minutes because everybody told me, Norman, never do podcast more than 30 minutes. People are gonna get tired of you. So we did that. But now podcast kind of evolved with Jamie's help. Pre-show, her pre-shows 15 minutes, sometimes turn into 30 minutes because she take people for a tour of the nursery. And we will keep doing this as long as you guys are tired of us. And there's no shortage of material for me to talk about orchid because there's so much stuff developing on orchid. And I've been growing orchid since I was 6.
How many species are there?
There's 25,000 orchid species.
So we can do at least 25,000 episodes?
No. You gotta talk to the big man up there. But there's the countless of the orchid hybrids we make. That was recorded according to my friend and I, Royal Horticulture Society, who registered all the hybrid at England for at least 100 years. That there's average of about 100,000 hybrid being registered every year. So think about all this you never get tired of orchid. There's always something new and exciting. There's always eye candy, but you don't have to own everything, but just know your growing environment and what you best at that. For a lot of new growers, just like one of my good friend, Dr. Chen from Reno, I said, you have great light, okay, but instead of trying to grow so many genus in one location, in one room in Reno, which is very bright, focus on maybe one genus first, okay, and then really good at that one genus, and then you can move on to other genus, okay, and by trying to coordinate, if you're really good, Phalaenopsis is the best genus to start with, and it's more than just your typical Trader Joe supermarket Phalaenopsis. There's a lot of novelty, fragrance. Possibility is endless. Then you can move on to Paphiopedilum like this, which is a very similar light than your Phalaenopsis. Okay, so then you can actually have the same kind of light requirement for your location, whether you go at the windowsill or under light. Okay, then you can start to graduate to expand and you don't want to know your own environment. If you live in South Florida, bless your heart, you can grow a lot of orchid outdoor. You can mount your orchid outdoor. Okay, or if you're northeast, northwest, you can grow some of the cooler stuff. But the nice thing about it is don't limit yourself to just windowsill. The possibility today is amazing compared to in the 80s. With the new technology of the LED light, and Jeff had a wonderful light, you can do a lot of stuff. Costco had those chrome rack for less than $100. You can set a different height. There you go. You can do, and the light that Jeff has can give you good flowering quality. In the 70s, we just use a cool fluorescent white. They live vegetarian, but they will never flower because they don't have enough optimum red and blue. So that's why we're here today. So any question before so this is how I started. Thank you. And I have all through this journey from when my business started in 1986 to today. I have wonderful customer and good mentor and and I also gained a lot of friendship, a lot of friends along the way, and I really appreciate this opportunity. And as long as you guys never get tired of us, we'll keep doing it. Okay. Any question before I move on to the tip of the week? Everybody fine? Okay. So Jeff, this segment gonna be taped, right? Okay. Is everything okay? So I'm gonna do now every week, and Jeff will remind me, a segment we call tip of the week. And right now, okay, this is the situation that I'm gonna give this as an example. Okay, Jeff, can you do a close up? Okay, tell me which is the sunburn and which is the cold damage? It's this two. Everybody? Who said this is cold damage? And who is this cold damage or sunburn? Which is which? You want to try? Can you see? Okay, that's a compressed paphiopedium. And this is the Phalaenopsis. Okay, see here? And here? Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna review this. For the compressed paphiopedium, okay? This is belong to one of our member. And this was doing really, really good at his house. But because the moving, the watering, he put it on the floor. Okay, he put it on the floor, and the angle of the light is this only happened last couple of weeks. The angle of the light was so strong. This is sunburn. Okay, this is sunburn. So what's this? He had a sunburn on all his compressed paphiopedium. Okay, sunburn, sunburn. You see here? Okay. This is actually not as bad because this is Paphiopedium laurea from a species, so slightly sunburn. But what I'm going to talk about today is what to do with the sunburn. Okay. So for example, this is Paphiopedium laurea. Okay. What happened with sunburn though is the tissue, the tissue will cause the tissue to collapse. I personally, this one for example, as long as it did not have any infestation and just ornamentally is kind of ugly, but it's still okay. I would just leave this one alone, okay? Because pretty soon, because all this here is not really expanding. You still have good. I could have cut it here, but this leaf here is still very, very active. You know, for me, I cannot sell it. I gotta go to another year. I gotta cut it. I could grow a new leaf or 2 leaf. But for you at home, take this one for example. It's a Paphiopedium laurea. It's a warm growing Malaysian multiflora. This is still good here. It still have good chlorophyll. They still can send do photosynthesis and send the plant. That's why the plant doing great. Put a new leaf. For this one here, I would just leave it alone. Now, this complex here, okay, for the owner, I would just leave it alone too. That's okay because look at all this nice leaf here. You need all this extra surface space to help photosynthesis. Okay, you don't want to cut it here. We're going to cut it here because all this you're going to lose all this green area for do photosynthesis, and leave it alone because look what happened. You got a nice new growth to support it right now. Okay, if I cut it here, surgically remove it, it's going to cut down all this extra space for photosynthesis. And this is why if you don't cut it, you can support a nice new growth, and you still can. They haven't flowered yet this year yet, so this is going to this is the red. This is the compressed red. So this you're going to get flower for this coming maybe April or Mother's Day, because typically the red Paphiopedilum have crossed with Paphiopedilum boloculum, and boloculum is a smaller, warmer grower, so that the season will be later. So in this particular one, I will just leave it alone. Just keep it watering, okay? The third one, same thing. Beautiful plant. It's just too bad. It just got sunburn. Sometimes I call it give the plant some character. Now this is the one I really had some problem with, and what happened here is when the sunburn is severe, and then also because the leaf breakage, it had created a wound. There's some fungi is penetrating through the opening right here, and you notice that they also getting darker and darker yellow and gold. It's going to pretty soon, if I don't surgically remove it, it's going to go into the apical meristem and then going to kill the crown. So this is the situation, okay, versus this, okay, leave it alone. You notice that there's an opening here, okay, and then you just get a clean. I usually do not like to use, you can use scissor, but scissors sometimes, because this is very thin, scissors sometimes get the cut too hard. No matter what, if you have a really thin scissor, okay, make sure you just frame your tool. I like to use a tool because that can eliminate virus and any fungi on there. And really hot. Okay, so if you want to use a scissor, get the thinnest scissor as possible, or I also have this disposable single blade, and I like this also because it's very thin, and I can do when we used to do tissue culture, we do a surgical. So what happened is this one here is down here already. Okay, I had to physically remove it because it's got ever since I received this in the mail from my customer, it had gone down this 4 inches already. So I'm going to cut it at least 1 more inch below this. And I'm going to do is cut like this, still an angle. Okay, and this part is just throw this away. Okay, now this side, I'm going to leave it alone because it's just some permanent scar and there's no infestation yet. So I'm going to leave this alone, that the area have photosynthesis. Now this one is getting really bad. It's getting white and going down this way. So you can also cut it lower because the Paphiopedilum have this U shape. Do a cross like this and do a really sharp cut down here too. I want to cut this off. It's not very pretty, but this is what you get. The main point right now is trying to save the plant. And the surface here, just do not water. I will usually put this one aside. Don't get it on water. Don't spray them. Do not spray, because the spray, the moisture is going to help. Even the 5% dilute solution, just leave it alone. Put it in what we call maybe a quarantine area, okay, and let the plant time to heal themselves. And then no water. Keep the plant dry. And then in about a week later, then you can do the 5% solution, a small teaspoon, and then you can drain the whole plant. By then, this area is all naturally healed already. Some people can put cinnamon in there, and you can do that. But personally, I don't. I just do let it air dry themselves. Sometimes cinnamon You never know it's a cinnamon powder. It might be contaminated because sometimes it's your cinnamon powder. I have customer who used to live in the greenhouse. It got mold. Okay, so you put in cinnamon powder, you actually have a mold or fungi spore, and you might contaminate. So if you want to use cinnamon powder, make sure you store your cinnamon powder not in the greenhouse, not in the garage, not in the. Make sure you store in a very dry area, so the fungi cannot. Every time your jar is in the moisture area, you're always going to have a fungi or mold develop in there. Okay, and that's it. Now this two plant here is part of my experiment on the cold tolerance of the Mega Dry. And I think 2 weeks ago I showed a greenhouse of my sales area. The heater went off. Yes, we don't have heater for 2 weeks, and so it went down to 42 degrees. We cannot get the guy to come back in time. And at that time, I said, great, this is a great time because the sales area is about I would have one small retail area, and we have half of them have Phalaenopsis and Paphiopedium, the other half is Cattleya. Cattleya I know have more problem, okay, but I said this is a great time to try my Mega Dry. Because in theory, I always Mega Dry will encourage the cytokinins and oxidant and to develop a better epidemic. Okay, so I'm not worried because when the heater went down, the first thing I do is I spray the Mega Dry. Okay, and at 3 ounces per gallon at that low temperature 40 degree. After I spray it, no water. You do not water the plant. Just leave it as dry as possible. Okay, so we have some Phalaenopsis. I'm going to give you an inventory, a list of what's in there and what is hardy, and I also show you the foliage. What really surprised me is this two here. Okay, this might give you an appearance of this sunburn, but this is actually from cold dry. And the reason this two actually got cold damage is because it was wet. Okay, remember when you have if you live in Florida, okay, you have a cold front coming. Sometimes it's just too tired to move 500 orchid from your outdoor. Okay, you move your more sensitive like Vanda and other stuff. Some of the stuff just spray it with Mega Dry. It will help them better. Put all your orchid under the gutter of the house. The wall of the house is going to help them give them heat. Okay, and then this, because the media was wet. Okay, what happened with the wet feet? It's going to make when down to 42 degrees. 40 degrees gradually, so no heater. So the minute sun set at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it starts dropping from 70 degrees all the way down to 42 degrees, and that is about 10 days. And that it's too wet. The moisture is going to make the plant feel even colder. So, and at the right time, maybe just perfect timing. It got, if you can see, there's some kind of whitish here. I'm not going to touch it because that's a fungi. That's a Pythium fungi. So somehow it got in there. So let's penetrate right now. So it might give you the look. It's not sunburn. This is actually perfect example of what we call the cold damage. And with Phalaenopsis, I do not like to use scissors. I like to use the clean razor blade. So I'm going to get on the clean razor blade. Okay, a single bladed. And if you can get a single bladed, that's good. So I'm going to get, this is the yellow one, right? So you always do at least 1 inch or 2 inch. So I'm going to just do a round cut. And this part, never touch here, because that's, if you look at this here. This is all the mycelium, okay? If I'm finger touch, and I will pick up all this white mycelium, and I rub it onto the next plant, and they will got infestation. So this is how it started. Just make sure touch the green side and just toss it right away. And again, I'm gonna leave this one here, and I'm gonna use this time to trim off some of the old arrowroot. Okay. I'm gonna put it with a path that's been quarantined to knock out water. And here's another one that actually, this is from cold damage. Okay. The tissue had collapsed. Okay. So you have to surgically remove it. Otherwise, in about a week, this area will become mush, and then going to have more problem. So you want to get rid of ahead of the problem. So again, you can use a very sharp scissor or razor blade, and you physically remove it. So you actually do it ahead of the problem. Okay. And then here, voila. This is actually have physical damage already. And then put it in the isolated area. So the plant, the root is healthy. So this is why, and here we go. This is how you prevent and you take care of the rooted area, the cold damage area. So that is the tip of the week. The sunburn and the cold damage. And I will by tomorrow I'm going to go through inventory of the sales area and give you a footage image of what really surprised me. Some orchid I thought might be as hardy, and that is the first one of them. Is this. This is the NF number. Okay. And some of you, we have sold this before. This is Pochorima hybrid by Equestria Cerurea. Okay, it's a tension blue jay by Equestria Orange. Okay, and this have been booming all summer. Okay, so the call, right? Did you see this here? This is from call. Okay, but that's okay. It did not. It's just a discoloration, and because they're all from C, so this one is more looks like Equestrias. So this is from the call damage. All you have to do is just remove it. You see here? Okay, I can just remove all the bottom that got call, and that's okay. This one, this hybrid, is really surprised me because this has Pochorima and Equestrias Orange in there, and look at it's not busted on the flower. It went down to 42 degrees. We leave it dry. We don't water them, and even a new spike is forming. So if you have a area that or your underlight is kind of cold in Florida, if you live in Florida, you can leave this outdoor, mount it on the tree. You have a cold front. This is the type of hardy Phalaenopsis. I think it's because the Equestrias and also the Equestria Orange. The Equestria Orange is a strain that we got from Japan. So the breeder have a cold greenhouse. So his Equestria Orange, I was told he only hit his greenhouse to 55 degrees on his. So because being in Japan, so it is. So I said, wow, you can keep that Equestria Orange to be 55 degrees. So his breeding on that strain of Equestria is cold hardiness. So if you like something hardy, this is the number to get. And look at it, they are they've been booming since summer. It's just the endless bunny that because Equestria, they go on, and the Pochorima give you that very good hard leaf substance that help to prevent from the cold damage. Okay.